phones tapped and wired up. The police got you stuck. No one desires us. This law requires us to buy this man's trust. Pay to get salvation. Who you playing? But I pulled your card. I seen your stars. They false lights. My spirit spit lyrics so cold your frostbite. And that's the attitude from your murderous plight. From your rapists every night. And young boys shot down in the street in they mama's sight. Your overseers call this the good life. Like the hood's right. Rep Zion, that's right. Y'all's way, that's life. The ships of Tarshish, the glory of Lebanon will offload in Yah's land. That's what we stepping on. The next plane won't miss the Pentagon. The bees is dying, Florida is drying. Look like death coming to Babylon. The nation about to be born. A pure language giving the call on the name of Yah. All people will serve the sun, the black supremacist. No hippie on the stick, looking like Dennis the Menace. The demon is finished. When the wicked fall, the meek increase. Israel is free. Rejoice in the death of the beast. The resurrection of Yah's people. All your children will be righteous. Walking in Yah's likeness. Mirth and happiness. All glory in the land that Yah is blessed. See the truth manifest in Yah's elect.
Your show is scheduled to start in 29 seconds. Your show will go live in 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1.
Shalom, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, giving all praise and honor to the Holy One of Israel, to the Creator of the heaven, the earth, the sea, and all that is therein is, by saying hallelujah. Praise the mighty Yah. Yah is righteous. Yah is holy. And let Yahweh be magnified. Once again, the Creator has allowed us to come before you another day, another week, bringing to you his great, holy, and exalted words, even the words of truth. My name is Moreh Ishaya Yisrael of the house, located right here in Cincinnati, Ohio, at our new address, 2330 Kemper Lane. And I praise the mighty Yah this day for once again allowing us to bring to you nothing but the truth. And yes, all we're going to do is tell you the truth, for Yah ordained me to tell you the truth. And this is what I'm going to do. And who is this Yah? Yah is the creator of the heaven, the earth, the sea, and all that is therein is. Yah is the Elohim of our fathers, the Elohim of Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yisrael, whom you may know as Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Yah is our king. He's our judge. He's our lawgiver. And Yah is our only Savior, and not just of Israel, but Yah is the Savior of the world. And I praise the mighty Yah for allowing us once again to come before you with his great truth. Today, this evening, we're going to bring to you what many of you all are not even familiar with. And that's the word of Yah. I know we've been missing and been sporadic over the last few weeks because of our change of address, our conference, and other things. But we'll be coming to you every day, especially during this great time of trouble. And I'm not sure what the other people are telling you, what this time is. But we're going to tell you the truth. And we're going to prove to you beyond a shadow of a doubt what Yahweh has told us, what Yahweh has left on record is the truth, even though the world would tell you otherwise. And let me show you what Yahweh let us know first and foremost in the book of Amos. The 3rd chapter. You can get that with me. In the book of Amos, the 3rd chapter, in the 6th verse, this is what it says. Shall a trumpet be blown in the city, and the people not be afraid? And there be evil in the city, and Yahweh has not done it. Here it is. The mass majority of our people in the world, when they see evil in the world, they under the erroneous impression that this is some type of evil God, evil thing, Satan, bringing calamity on the earth. No, it's the Most High. The same one who bless you is the same one who will curse you. The same one that gives you light is the same one who will bring darkness. The one that maketh alive, put the breath of life in your nostrils that you might live, is the same one that kills. And these are the things you got to know. And since you didn't know, and since you didn't acknowledge the great blessings of the Most High, well, now you undoubtedly going to have to acknowledge his great cursings. You had a chance to receive his light, but now you must receive his darkness. And today we're going to talk about his darkness. And why talk about his darkness? Well, first of all, let me show you all the things I just said is the truth. If you go to the book of Isaiah 45, and we had the air running on in our facilities here, and it's cold, and so now it's got me sniffing. But indulge me for a minute because it'll dry up. In the book of Isaiah 45, this is what it says. Starting at verse 5. I am Yahweh, and there is none else. There is no Elohim besides me. I girded you, though you have not known me. And here it is. The Creator lets us know emphatically. He's the one who's been protecting you, guarding you. He's the one that has been blessing you. In 1 second. He is the one that's been with you, that they may know from the rising of the sun and from the west that there is none besides me. I am Yahweh, and there is none else. And watch the 7th verse. I form the light and create darkness. I make peace and create evil. I, Yahweh, do all these things. So here the Creator emphatically wanted us to know who is the one that produced all these things. And since you didn't want to know this Yah that maketh peace, he's going to show you the Yah that make evil. And since you didn't acknowledge the Yah that formed the light, he's going to introduce to you the Yah who maketh darkness. And yes, these are dark times. And let me tell you why these churches, the mosque, the shrines, the temples, the halls, the synagogues, and even many of your Israelite teachers, the reason why they won't be able to teach you these things because they don't know the order of Yahweh. They don't know how Yahweh will order things in its time. And I want you to see this so you can understand what's going on today, but more importantly, what Yahweh will do tomorrow. Watch what the Creator lets us know in the book of Ecclesiastes. And we're talking about darkness. And we'll be talking about this week. And surely, you must admit that I'm telling you the truth. Because there's a lot of dark things going on today. And we're going to prove to you, not just in his word, but you can see for yourself the darkness that is plaguing the earth. And you're going to see why. Watch this. This is why it's so vitally important for you to know the order of Yah. In other words, an order is a set of rules and regulation that takes place in order. That's why you have 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5, because there's an order. 2 don't come before 1. 4 don't come before 3. You got to go in order. In the book of Ecclesiastes, the 3rd chapter, the very first verse says, to everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under the heaven. And then it began to list the times. And watch what it says. There's a time to be born and a time to die. That's one order. That's just one. It's just that being born is the first order. That's when you begin to get light. Your eyes is opened up because now you can see. It represents light. But let me show you what represents death. A time to die. When the lights are turned off. And today, many lights are turned off. Here today, just go around the various cities and states that you live in and go to the stores that you are accustomed to going to. And let me tell you what you're going to see. The lights off. The doors are locked and closed. And now you can't even get the simplest things that yesterday you was able to get. And why? Because once Yahweh, who create and make and form the light, that same Yahweh will also turn them off and make darkness. And this is what Yahweh is doing. Just a few weeks ago, everybody was living their life. New York was busting with life. The world was busting with life. The president of the United States was bragging about how well and how good the economy was. But now, the busiest city and state in the world, called New York, the streets are empty. And now, instead of light and life being fast and rampant, now death is his friend and prevailer. And what you hear about New York is not people running on the streets, but people dying in the streets. And as an Israelite, we don't want to hear that at all, because Yahweh has no pleasure in the death of the wicked. But make no mistake about it, it is Yahweh that kill, and it is Yahweh that make alive. And since you didn't want to know the Yahweh that make alive, you will know the Yahweh that kill. Darkness. This is what we're speaking about. Watch this. Second verse still. There's a time to plant and a time to pluck up that which is planted. That's number 2. Order number 2. Since order number 1 is to be born, the time to be born and the time to die, number 2 is a time to plant and a time to pluck up that which is planted. Watch number 3. There's a time to kill and a time to heal. That's number 3. But watch number 4. And why is 4 so important? Because little do people know we're in the 4th year of Yahweh's time. The heathen has his time. You got your time. But Yahweh also have a time. And we are in the 4th year of Yah's Sabbaths of years. And Yahweh will do things in the 4th that you need to familiarize yourself with, so you will know what blessings you got coming or what cursings you got coming. Now watch what it says. There's a time to break down and a time to build up. And that's number 4. And Yahweh have already built up. Many of these countries have been up for a while, a long time. All you've been hearing is let us make America great again. But now, all over the world is in great mourning. And why? Because now we're in a time to break down. And when you breaking down things, it's only because it is a time of darkness. A lot of people think everything started with darkness. Well, let's just imagine what you're saying is true. That everything started with darkness. And let me show you what darkness brings, what darkness brought, and what darkness is, and how Yahweh see darkness. In the book of Genesis, the first chapter, and watch what this says. For those who believe in these dark things, here in this western part of the world, most of the world pretty much on the same time. And they will tell you that a day started in the middle of the night. This is when they change over their times. They will tell you a year starts in the middle of the winter at the middle of the night. And then those who not tricked by that, they will tell you when it get dark, another day starts, which is another trick by your enemies. But all these dark things, and since you put this darkness before light and made the darkness as if it was light, now Yahweh have to show you what true darkness is. Watch what it says. Genesis, the first chapter. In the beginning, Elohim created the heavens and the earth. And watch this. I want you to read this. See this. And the earth was without form and void. What do that mean? Something that don't have form is void. And watch the state of condition the earth was in when it didn't have no form, when it was void. It says, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. Darkness. And the spirit of Elohim moved upon the face of the waters. In other words, this state of condition of darkness was void. Nothing was in it. Had no form. It didn't even look good. It didn't even sound good. It didn't even measure up to be good. Now, how do I know that? Because watch what the scripture says. And Elohim said, let there be light. And there was light. And Elohim saw the light that it was good. Now, why would Yahweh, the maker of all things, why didn't he say when he saw darkness, it was good? Why he didn't start talking about something good until he seen some opposite of darkness? And if he called something opposite of darkness good, which he called the light good, then how can you go and say the darkness was good? And right now, some dark things is going on in the world. And we're going to point them out to you. So you can now, since you didn't want to know the the Yahweh of the light. Now you're going to know and acknowledge the Yahweh of darkness. Watch what this says. And Elohim saw that the light was good. And Elohim separated the light from the darkness, because he didn't even want these things to coexist with one another. So what he do? He took the light and separated it from the darkness. Elohim called the light day. The darkness he called night. And the evening and the morning were the first day. Now do you see how Yahweh began his story of the heaven, the earth, the sea, and all that is therein is. And everything, and I mean everything, is represented by these two fashions called light and darkness. And we're talking about darkness tonight. And I told you we were in the fourth year. And you got to know and you got to learn about this fourth. Because this fourth has everything to do with light and darkness. And let me show you that in Genesis 1 and 14. And why? Because this is the fourth day. And watch what Yahweh would do on the fourth day. And Elohim said, let there be lights, 1 and 14, in the firmament of the heaven to separate the day from the night. Because he's seen the day as good. Even though you want to make darkness the same as the day. But Yahweh didn't. And he said, let them be for signs, for seasons, for days and years. And let them be for lights in the firmament of heaven to give light upon the earth. And it was so. And Elohim made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day, the lesser light to rule the night. He made the stars also. And Elohim set them in the firmament of heaven to give light upon the earth, to rule over the day and over the night, to separate the light from the darkness. And Elohim saw that it was good. Because what did he make? Lights. And he put these lights in, so he saw that that was good. And the evening and the morning were the fourth day. And that's why this is very relevant. Because the fourth has a lot to do with light. But make no mistake about it. What is the opposite of light? And that is darkness. Here today, the greatest light that you can have is the breath of life. Where Yahweh breathed into man's nostrils and he became a living soul. Light itself represents life. It represents light. Anytime here the scientists, when they go to look for life on other planets, other places, they're looking for some type of life source that they can see if is their life. But then you have a bunch of atheists talking about they don't believe in the Most High, the maker of light and darkness. You have a bunch of religions that want you to have this God of love, but not this God of evil. There's only one God, and his name is Yahweh. and he maketh good and evil, life and death. And let me show you this so you can know what I'm telling you is the truth. There's only one Elohim. There's only one Yahweh. There's only one creator, one maker, one father. Our people have been tricked. Watch this in the book of Deuteronomy, the 30th chapter. We're talking about darkness. The Creator lets us know in the book of Deuteronomy 30. And we're going to read the 15th verse. And this is what it says. See, I've set before you this day life and good. They go together. And death and evil, because they go together. And Yahweh wants you to know about this life and death, about this good and evil. Watch the 19th verse. I call heaven and earth to record this day against you, that I set before you life and death, blessing and cursing. Therefore choose life, that both you and your seed may live. So there's no excuse for you to turn to these false idols, these false religions that's not going to tell you the truth. Tell you that Yahweh is the creator, the maker of all things. So the same one that make alive is the same one that kills. You got to know that. And without knowing that truth, Yahweh himself will indeed show you the truth. But which one do you want to learn first and foremost? Do you want to learn the Yahweh that bless, or the Yahweh that curse? And many of our people, I'm sad to say, the world and the earth, I'm sad to say, is now meeting, now being introduced to the Yahweh that killed. The one that bringeth darkness. The one that bringeth death. It's not me. It's not you. The government want to tell you it's invisible because they can't see it. But Yahweh had already told us it's him. Here, if somebody put together a roadside bomb, the CIA and the FBI will investigate it. And then after investigating it, they would say this come from ISIS. Or this comes from Hezbollah. Or this comes from some other terrorist group. Because what? They have investigated, they searched it out. This is the signature of the people who will do such a thing. Well, where did this virus come from? And whose signature is this? Since you wise and you know everything, you ain't heard nothing about the FBI. You ain't heard nothing about the CIA. Where is the intelligence agencies today to let us know who is responsible for the death in the streets around the world? Where they at? Who are they? Somebody got to be responsible. Is this some unnatural act that just occurs every certain amount of time? That's what they want you to believe. But no, this is very natural. Very natural. This is exactly what Yahweh will do. And I'm going to show you why Yahweh would do such a thing, especially at this time. Watch what the Creator lets us know in the book of Proverbs, the first chapter. We're talking about darkness. This is not hard to figure out what time we're in. All over the world, how many planes do you see in the sky today? How many ships do you see in the sea today? Most of your ships and boats today are docked. Most of your planes of the sky are grounded. The lights are turned off. The engines is turned off. Many of your great stores are closed. Many of the people that's typically on the streets are now in the house. Who is responsible for this? Who do we credit for this thing? Watch what it says. Since the world is going dark, their borders are cut off. Russia done closed their borders. Canada done closed their borders. India done closed their borders. United States of America closed their borders. Mexico closed. Spain closed. Italy closed. France closed. Who is responsible for this? In the book of Proverbs, the first chapter, the 20th verse, wisdom cries outside. She utters her voice in the streets. She's trying to tell you something, talk to you, and let you know what's happening. She cries in the chief place of concourse, in the opening of the gates. In the city she utters her words, saying, how long, you simple ones, will you love simplicity? And the scorners delight in their scorning, and fools hate knowledge. And Yahweh is trying to give you knowledge of truth. Turn you at my reproof. Behold, I will pour out my spirit unto you. I will make known my words unto you. Because I've called, and you refused. I've stretched out my hand, and no man regarded. But you have set at nothing all my counsel, and will have none of my reproof. Watch what Yahweh says. I also will laugh at your calamity. I will mock when your fear comes. And when your fear comes as desolation. And what is desolation? Desolation is when Yahweh will bring a destruction that make it desolate. And you see the desolation. Look out in the streets and see who's out there. Look on your TV screens and see who's out there. When your fear comes as desolation, your destruction comes as a whirlwind. In other words, real fast. One day, you're on the beach. The next, you can't even do that no more. When your distress and anguish comes upon you, Yahweh is foretelling what will happen and telling you what will be, what you're going through. Your distress and anguish come upon you, and it's coming upon a lot of people. Then shall they call upon me, but I will not answer. They shall seek me earnestly, but they shall not find me. For that they hated knowledge and did not choose the fear of Yahweh. They were none of my counsel. They despised all my reproof. Therefore shall they eat the fruit of their own way and be filled with their own devices. Since you like playing in a laboratory with diseases and viruses, since you like fighting wars, since you like oppression, since you like withholding and oppressing the poor and the needy, the widow and the fatherless, since you like putting people in prisons and making money off of everybody, paying them $10 an hour, $11 an hour, $12 an hour, $15 an hour, and you say it's good and we supposed to believe it, since you like doing these things, you're going to be filled with your own devices. Now what you got to do, you got to get them money to stay at home. Now you got to send them checks without working. Go figure. Watch what it says. For the turning away of the simple shall they slay them, and the prosperity of fools shall destroy them. But whoever listens to me shall dwell safely and shall be quiet from the fear of evil. And make no mistake about it. If you don't think the time now is an evil time, then go try turning on your lights in your businesses. Go start up the boats. Go fly your planes. If this is not a time of evil. Fill the gyms with basketball players. Fill the stadiums with baseball players. Fill the courts with tennis players if you don't think this is a time of evil. This is the Yahweh that you're going to know now. Since you didn't want to know the Yahweh who bless, who make a life, who bring a peace, the Yahweh who loves. But now you got to see and meet the one who hates, the one who tears down. And it's not a pretty sight. Look what the Creator let us know in the book of Isaiah 24. Now, Don't think here at the house of Israel we're just jumping on a bandwagon or we bragging or we. No, we're not at all. We know Yahweh is angry with his people and the world. Yahweh have a controversy with all of us. Do you honestly believe and think that Yahweh will exempt his people from his wrath? He more angry at them than the world. It's only one that Yahweh said he will exempt, and they're called the humble. They're called the righteous. They're called the remnant. That's who Yahweh said he would exempt. Look what Yahweh said in the book of Isaiah 24:1. And you don't have to believe nothing that I'm saying. But what you're going to see is what I'm telling you is the truth. Isaiah 24:1. Behold, Yahweh makes the earth empty. Now, how is that? Here it is. During the time of Noah, when Yahweh cut off the lights during the time of Noah, he destroyed everything. Everything. But this is not that time. Yahweh wants you to see the destruction. Watch what it says. Yahweh makes the earth empty, makes it waste, turns it upside down, and scatters abroad the inhabitants thereof. And here it is. People are fleeing home, back to the place in which they come from. Nobody want to die in a strange land. So Americans came home. Koreans went back to Korea. Chinese went back to China. Russians went back to Russia. Everybody trying to get back home. And it shall be as with the people, so with the priest. As with the servant, so with his master. As with the maid, so with her mistress. As with the buyer, so with the seller. As with the lender, so with the borrower. As with the taker of usury, so with the giver of usury to him. In other words, nobody is exempt. Nobody will escape except the righteous, the humble, and the remnant. Watch what the Creator says. The land shall be utterly empty and utterly spoiled. For Yahweh has spoken this word. The earth mourns. And let me tell you, if you're not mourning today, you will never mourn. You got in places 700-800 people dying in a 24-hour period. If that don't make you sad, nothing will make you sad. You got people who's losing all kind of people in their family. While you think this is a mini vacation and running in the parks and jogging and walking your dogs, there's people literally actually dying. But make no mistake about it. It's coming your way. It is coming your way. The earth mourns and fades away. The world languishes and fades away. The haughty people of the earth do languish. In other words, the haughty people, they was talking all haughty and arrogant. But in a little while to come, sooner rather than later. And it's here now. The haughty people of the earth are languishing. Watch what it says. This is why. The earth also is defiled under the inhabitants thereof, because they have transgressed the laws. What laws are that? Here it is. You got people in our community talking about they don't have to keep the law. But I guarantee you keeping the law today, make no mistake about it, you keeping the law, not Yahweh's law, but you keeping the law. Guarantee you got some masks, some gloves, and if you don't, you're going to try to get you some sanitizer. I guarantee you stocking up now. Whereas before, oh, we don't have to keep no laws. I bet you as soon as they start telling you don't go out these doors and enforce it, I bet you keep those laws. But you going around talking about we don't keep the law. We don't keep the Sabbath day. You keeping the Sabbath now. The Sabbath just mean rest, fool. That's all Sabbath mean. It's rest. And you ain't working today. And why? Because your business closed. Why? Because your job is no longer there. Why? Because you're no longer an employee. Now, you keeping the Sabbath. Not the Sabbath day, but you are keeping the Sabbath today. Watch what this is. The earth also is defiled under the inhabitants thereof, because they have transgressed the laws, changed the ordinance, and broken the everlasting covenant. Therefore has the curse devoured the earth, and they that dwell therein are desolate. Therefore the inhabitants of the earth are burned, and few men left. Because every day, every hour, every minute, we just seen a total just death, just climbing and climbing. And you would think the whole world would be crying about this thing. No, because people really don't care until it comes to their door. But make no mistake about it, every knee shall bow, and every tongue shall swear. It will come to your doors. And it's only will escape you if you humble, if you righteous, and if you part of the remnant. Show you something. Just as I stated before, I want you to see the Yahweh that you should have been serving. Because now you got to see the Yahweh that you don't even want to meet. Look what Yahweh said concerning what he would do if you do certain things to your parents. And you'll find this in the book of Proverbs, the 20th chapter. Look what Yahweh said. Proverbs 20 and 20. Isn't that irony that we in 2020? And watch what Yahweh say in Proverbs 20 and 20. Whoever curses his father or his mother. Why? Because this is your father and mother, man. This is the one who give you life. This is who you come from. This is your nativity. Watch what it says. His lamp shall be put out in obscure darkness. You see what darkness is all about? That's what I'm trying to tell you. Now you meeting the Yahweh you didn't want to know. The one who bringeth darkness. And you thought darkness was good. all this dark talk. The day start at dark. Time start at dark. Everything start at dark. Running out in the dark trying to find the moon. Now, go out and see these dark things. Let me show you how Yahweh sees darkness in the book of Proverbs 2. The only thing good in the dark is light. That's the only thing good. But if he wanted man to be out there, he wouldn't have never made the day, because darkness was already there. Watch what Yahweh said in Proverbs 2. Starting at the 11th verse. Discretion shall preserve you. Understanding shall keep you, and that's what we're trying to give you. To deliver you from the way of the evil man, from the man that speak forward things. And let me show you how you know that type of man, because watch what it says. Who leave the path of uprightness to walk in the ways of darkness. Who want to go in the way of darkness but the wicked? And now we see how darkness really look. When you drive down the street down and see a bunch of businesses closed, now you see how darkness really look. When you don't see people on the streets, now you see how darkness really look. Yahweh tried to tell you how it looked in Genesis, the first chapter, the first verse, by letting you know that this thing had no form. It was void. And it was dark. But you didn't believe him. Now you can see for yourself. In other words, there was no life. Because if there was life, then there would have been light. Now, people are dying. And when you die, the light that you were seeing is being taken away from you. And now all you have is darkness. In the book of Proverbs, the 4th chapter, this is what it says. This is not my words. This is Yahweh words. The 19th verse. No, the 18th verse. Watch what it says. It says, but the path of the just is as the shining light that shines more and more unto the perfect day. The way of the wicked is as darkness. That's the way of the wicked. They know not at what they stumble. They know not at what they stumble. Because you can't see. You don't know what you're doing. You don't have no knowledge. And that's what we're trying to give you. Knowledge. So you can understand what time we're in. Don't be fooled and tricked and bamboozled thinking that this sickness, this virus, this thing is some type of unexpected thing. No. This is a curse that is devouring the earth. Yahweh blessed the earth, but you didn't acknowledge him. So Yahweh is sending a curse around the world, closing down the synagogues, closing down the churches, closing down the temples, closing down the mosques, closing down the shrines, until you acknowledge the Yahweh of darkness. and death and death and more death until you acknowledge it. Darkness is the way of the wicked. Watch this. Deuteronomy 28. A lot of people think Deuteronomy 28 is just for Israel. It's just for an Israelite. And they couldn't be more wrong. Yes, these are the blessings and the curses that will come upon our people. That is true. But these same weapons Yahweh used for the world. We don't even have to go over the blessings. But watch the curse. Starting at the 15th verse. And watch what this says. But it shall come to pass, Deuteronomy 28 and 15, if you will not listen to the voice of Yahweh your Elohim, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes which I command you this day, that all these curses shall come upon you and overtake you. And watch this. Curse shall you be in the city. That's number one. Curse shall you be in the field. Number two. Curse shall be your basket. Number three. And watch number four. And curse shall be your store. And look at all the stores today. Curse. Went to the store today, they couldn't even sell me some toilet paper. And why? Because they can't get it. And why? Because their supplier is holding back. Can't go get no sanitizer. Can't go get no Lysol. Can't go get nothing. And why? You think they want to do that? No, they don't want to do that. So who's responsible? Surely the stores want to be open. They want to make money. The president want to even open it, the United States want to open these things now. Even during the pandemic, he want to open it up. But he can't. Nobody wants to live in this condition, this state of death that's all around us. But instead of worrying about all the death, where is the CIA and the FBI and the intelligence agencies to let us know who's responsible for this thing? If it's China, arrest somebody. Send a bomb over there. But you know it ain't. You know it ain't China. You know it ain't Russia messing with your election. No, this ain't Russia messing with your elections. Even though we're doing the time, we in the time of elections. Had to suspend the Olympics for a whole year. Who wants all this death and destruction, desolation? Yahweh. That's who want it. That's who's bringing it. That's who doing it. CIA and FBI. Acknowledge it and tell the people the truth and let them know that this did not come from man. And humble yourself. And watch that. That's the 17th verse. And I took the opportunity to count these things for you, put them in order for you. Look at the 20th verse. The fourth thing. The first fourth thing we see is your store is cursed. It says in the 20th verse, and Yahweh shall send upon you cursing. Cursing, not blessing. See, when you're blessed and he send upon you blessing, things begin to multiply and benefit you. But when Yahweh send cursings, then you will see all them blessings go out the window. Like your 401k, like your job, your income, your pleasures, your activities, your freedom. Go to the movie today. Go. Just go to the movies and see the blockbuster that they showing today. Matter of fact, that's when the blockbusters come out during the spring and summertime. Where they at today? You see what happened when they tried to still hold one of the biggest pleasures in the world called Mardi Gras. And they regret it because now New Orleans is one of the epic centers of the crisis. They had to get that last pleasure in. Now, was it worth it? Here the mayor said, well, nobody told me. There were no red flags. Oh, you didn't hear people dying before? When is Mardi Gras? End of February? Beginning of March? You didn't hear people dying in China? You didn't hear cases in January? You didn't hear the cases in February? And you didn't know? And you didn't see no red flags? Well, you should have been looking. Should have been paying attention. Because there's now a lot of red in New Orleans. And it's blood. All because you will not acknowledge the Yahweh who bless. But now you got to meet the Yahweh that curse. Watch this. The 22nd verse in Deuteronomy 28. And watch the fourth thing. Yahweh shall smite you with consumption, which is number 3, and with a fever, which is number 4. This is one of the biggest signs that let you know, there's trouble. They put a thermometer on you, take your temperature. Now, that don't mean you got the virus, but you got to be quarantined. And now we got to watch you and see what happens. Now we got to separate you. Because that's what Yahweh would do. Now people, where a fever didn't mean nothing. A fever was something good because it's your internal body fighting off disease. But now, a fever is your worst enemy. Today, people sick. Before, it was nothing to walk around coughing. Didn't care who you coughed around. But now people trying to hold that cough back. It was nothing to sniff. Wipe your nose. Now everybody trying to hold that sniff in. Because they don't want people to think they sick. That they got to be quarantined. But you can't hide. You can't hide from this. And why? Because it is Yahweh that is the one that when it's all said and done, you will acknowledge. You will credit this thing to Yahweh when it's all said and done. Not Hezbollah, not ISIS, but Yahweh. The 23rd verse. The fourth that I seen there, and your heaven is over you, over your head shall be brass. Yes, brass. In other words, you ain't started yet, but watch the ministers and the preachers. They gonna come out and start trying to get everybody to pray, but the heaven is gonna be brass, and it's not gonna slow down. It's not gonna stop until you acknowledge the true and living Elohim, whose name is Yahweh. That's when it will slow down. And people want you to believe that, well, it slowed down in China. Yahweh is not finished. By no stretch of the imagination, he's not done. He's not done at all. And you might have forgot the Yahweh of old. And let me help you to remember the Yahweh of old. In the book of Exodus, the 10th chapter. See, this is nothing new, because there's nothing new under the sun. And we're telling our people, Israel and those that are not Israel, it's time for you to get serious. It's time for you to acknowledge the work of the true and living Elohim, whose name is Yah. The Creator lets us know it's better to go in the house of mourning than the house of mirth, the house of feasting. Yahweh tells us the end is better than the beginning. And why do he tell us these things? Because he said in the end, in the house of mourning, which is the house of death, the heart will consider. So stop thinking the way you were thinking. Stop doing the things that you were doing. Will you laugh and joke and play when you go in the house of mourning? No. You start thinking. You start considering. You start meditating. Life becomes serious. And we're at a serious time where now you can't think the way you used to think. Watch what Yahweh did in Egypt in the book of Exodus, the 10th chapter. 20th verse. It says, but Yahweh hardened Pharaoh's heart so that he would not let the children of Israel go. And Yahweh said to Moshe, stretch out your hand toward heaven, that there may be darkness over the land of Egypt, even darkness which may be felt. And can you feel the darkness today? If you don't feel the darkness today, I don't know what type of soul you are. And a lot of people act like they don't feel it. I see them still outside, on the block, on the corner, on the stoop, but it's about to be empty. Yahweh will empty every street. Watch what he says. And Moshe stretched forth his hand toward heaven, and there was a thick darkness in all the land of Egypt 3 days. They saw not one another. Here we got family members who said they ain't seen their family member in weeks. Why? Because Yahweh brought darkness upon the earth. Now you can't even see one another. There's people who said they hadn't even seen their neighbors who they accustomed to seeing. Family members, co-workers, they have not seen in weeks. Why? Because the darkness that Yahweh have upon the earth. They saw not one another, neither rose any from his place for 3 days. And that was a long time. Here it is. Today, our people in the world have stay-at-home orders. And we know everybody is not taking this thing serious and still going out. But some are. And they staying right at home. They saw not one another, neither rose any from his place for 3 days. But all the children of Israel had light in their dwellings. See, they had light. Because when Yahweh break it down, there are some rising up. Even when Yahweh curse, there's some being blessed. When Yahweh give it life and they're being born, make no mistake about it, someone is dying and there is death. And today, it is the death that's prevailing all over the earth. But who's responsible? Who do you credit this thing, this evil to? How many thousands of people have to die before we say, Yahweh, we acknowledge that is you. Please stay your hand and let no one else die, Yah. We acknowledge it's you. When the powers to be understand there are no powers at all. And will the people humble themselves before the only true and one Elohim of the heaven, the earth, the sea, and all there that therein is, whose name is Yahweh. We told you. We informed you way before now that Yahweh has a controversy with his people and the inhabitants of the earth. So this was no secret at all. And you don't have to believe me. You don't even have to believe this is darkness that I'm speaking of. But you will acknowledge, if not today, if not sooner, you will acknowledge later that this is Yahweh who's doing these things. The maker of good and evil, light and darkness. For Yahweh doeth all these things. So until tomorrow, Yahweh love you, and so do I. Shalom.
Yes. Oh, Fourth Tribe Entertainment. It's gonna be a new day. It's gonna be a new way. You must think that you're our king. Yehuda Dean, Fourth Tribe ENT. It's gonna be a new day. It's the beginning of a new way. You could never be our king. Yehuda Dean, rep Yah with me. It's the dawn of 400 years. 400 years since we shed our first tears. 400 years since my ancestors slain. 400 years since we all knew his name. 400 in this land, Babylon. The bases of many kings. Yah's name is gone. We are the mighty Yehuda Dean. Lions of